In this episode of the Advanced Selling Podcast, I share my first travel mask shaming story. Bill offers a callback to a classic SNL skit that all of you must Google and watch called Coffee Clatch. And we riff on one of our favorite topics, mastermind peer groups. Should you join one? Should you start your own? Are they worth it? We give you all the answers.
Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast in the world, on the planet. I'm Bill Caskey.
And I'm Brian Neal.
And we welcome you. And if you just are getting your first few experiences of us, make sure you go to advancedsellingpodcast.com. On the homepage, there is a place where you can download the top 10, 15, 20 episodes, and also some places to connect with us, either through the LinkedIn group or some other places you can email us. Lots of different content there at advancedsellingpodcast.com. So if you're new, welcome. If you're a seasoned vet of the podcast, we've got something a little bit different today.
Yeah,
Ryan,
we do.
You've got a story.
Right. Well, I tell you, so it's travel time. It's time. I've been traveling a ton in August, starting to go to training camps and preseason games and things like that. And the planes are full. The planes are full. Yeah. We're moving around. It's great. Yeah. Everybody knows we wear masks on planes, don't we? It's very safe. How many COVID-related infections have you heard of from airplanes, Bill, in the news that have come from an airplane?
Well, I follow this stuff, so I know it's
the answer
very
is,
few.
It's zero, I believe. Anyway,
zero.
But that's fine.
Few.
And we still wear masks, and it's great. And I love it. It's protected the air filtration system.
What are you talking about?
So I sit down.
No,
I sit down, and of course, you know, and this is what we do. So we're flying up front, in front of the plane, first class. That's where we fly. Sometimes we fly for football stuff, and so you kind of think, well, other people that would fly a lot would be the ones sitting up there, would have, you know, knowledge and things and know what's going on. So we're sitting down, and there's a very agitated person in front of me, like with her bag and kind of messing with it and everything like this. And then she goes, well, my stuff's there. She's telling the guy next to me. The guy's like, okay, I'll just put mine back here. She goes, there's a space back there. And she turns around, looks at me, and she goes, are we going to wear our mask properly? And I go, and I didn't know she was talking to me.
She's a passenger. She's not a flight
passenger.
attendant.
I go, and then she's staring. I mean, you know how it is, seat to seat, staring at me. I go, are you talking to me? She goes, yeah. Oh, and then all of my coaching to make myself a better human had to kick in because of all the things I wanted to do or say. I just said yes, and that was it. It was very difficult.
That's the right answer. It's
just so interesting to me, though, what in a person drives that seething anger to, and what had happened. And you don't, I'm sure at some point, even if you're very, 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 conservative with your mask wearing and things, which is great. I'm all for that. At some point, I bet something maybe slipped under your nose a minute or whatever, you know, they just don't fit. And you're just like, you're in your own world. Anyway. So I got mask shamed, and it wasn't down around my chin.
No.
It wasn't. It was literally slipped under my nose when I was looking down at my phone.
She saw
it was on.
That it was inappropriately
here.
Connected. Okay.
That was right. It was right. Like, I'll do this.
Well, she had every right then.
She did. We have a great topic, though. We really do. So talk about switching gears.
Find it.
Yeah. So topic today is something near and dear to our hearts, also inspired by members of the Advanced Selling Podcast Insider Group who are also active in our LinkedIn group. You need to be in both of those. And this comes from a listener in Oregon.
Anthony Sierra.
Oregon? We believe Oregon.
I think, yeah.
You ever heard anyone call it Oregon ever?
People in southern Indiana do.
Exactly. That's where I'm from. That's what my friends do, or my family. So, and he was going to reach out to some colleagues and friends and other ASP listeners, and he's a member of the Insider Group, about starting a little mini group together, like a little peer group. And Bill and I thought, what a great topic to share with you. We both have had lots of experience as members of peer groups. We facilitate our own peer groups, and we are both, I want to speak for me, but I think you agree, Bill, very, very, very pro, be part of a group. And now more than ever, you as a listener and as a salesperson may have felt isolation on your own, working from home. and may not have a group that you're a part of. So we want to talk about today what to do in that case. How do you find a group? Do you start one? How does it go? What happens in a group, in a peer group? What's the agenda? What are the outcomes? Is it worth the time? All that stuff. Just riff on it a little bit.
And we're not doing this to pitch you on the ASP Insider program. That is, I mean, we've talked about that. We talked about that a lot. But that is a group. But we're doing this in a more unbiased, generic fashion about the power of groups and the limitations too. Because I do think there's some limitations.
Yeah,
and I think if you get in the wrong group, you might as well not be in a group. So I think there's some limitations. So why don't we start with just you and I both doing a minute riff on what you think generally of the small group environment when it comes to learning and growing, and just do it, pluses and minuses.
Yeah, of course. I'll start.
Yeah.
So I first started probably almost 15 years ago, doing sales coaching with you and here in Indianapolis, and didn't feel like I had a place I could go that would push me to the level I felt I needed pushed and bring different ideas that I couldn't get, because it was just me and you, and it's great, but then it's limited because you've got one person or two or a small team. The other thing that happens is you don't have objectivity there because you all work on the same team. So a lot of you work on sales teams. So your sales team is good, but you're on the same spot. So I searched around here in Indianapolis and found a group that a lot of people have heard called Vistage, Vistage. And I went and visited a Vistage group and saw the way the process worked and really, really was enamored right out of the gate. I thought this is a really cool thing, because you have different people in different roles that get together, all in the spirit of helping each other. And then you have this attachment to what we always called the mothership of Vistage Corporate that would provide us speakers at every meeting. So we get these speakers come in and share us new knowledge and that sort of thing. That was really, really helpful. So the viewpoint of others is one huge benefit. Secondarily, there was an element of accountability that was part of the process, where people would self-report accountability, things that they wanted to achieve or accomplish or make sure they did before the next meeting. And then our chairperson would read those back. That's an idea that I've stolen in my peer groups. So I think accountability is a great, great outcome from that. And then lastly are just the connections and the relationships that you have. So I'm really, really good friends with several of the people that I was in the peer group with. And I was in that group for 11 years, long run. It was really great. The downstroke, and this to me wasn't a downstroke. It wasn't, but it could be for some. We met once a month from 8:30 to 1. That is a huge chunk of time. And most peer group meetings can gobble up some time. The ones we run around here are either 2.5 or 3 hours. And people go, good gosh, boy, that's a long time. We believe that you really need to spend that time, but that can be a downstroke. That can be a thing where people just struggle to find their way there. That's it on the downstrokes. Okay. What about you? What benefit do you see, and do you see any downstrokes in just overall peer group or group?
Yeah, I think the downstroke of time gets alleviated a little bit because of virtual groups. I don't think people can sit for 4.5 hours on a Zoom call. I'm sure we have before, or 3 in a row. But I think an hour to 2 hours, as long as it's periodic, whether it's weekly or biweekly or monthly, I think you can get a lot done. I don't think you need to meet for 4 hours. I agree with that. However, I do think that in any group that you join, the moderator has to be conscious that everybody needs some space to talk. And the surest way to lose people in a peer group is to not let people talk, is to have the moderator do all of the talking. And I've been in groups where the moderator just won't shut up and nobody gets a chance to share. And so what happens is, at some point 2 or 3 people leave, and then 2 or 3 more people leave, and then 2 or 3 more people come in. And so if you're going to moderate a group, or if you're going to join a group, make sure the moderator leaves space for people to share their problems, hold themselves accountable for things. Expansion of ideas, hot seats. We love, in our groups, we do a lot of hot seats where people get a chance to come up in front of the group digitally and say, okay, here's my issue, or here's what I'm thinking about, here's something I'm excited about, shoot holes in it. Those kinds of experiences are really good. So this not just, I think the the small group has grown up from where it's just, hey, here we are. What's on your mind today, Brian?
Right.
To more of a little bit more structured where, okay, today we're going to go around. I want you to give me one thing right now you're working on. And as you work on it, you're not sure you really should be working on. Okay, everybody go.
Yep.
And so I think the moderator's role is really important. And I think it makes the group really come together and look forward to joining it rather than, oh, God, it's 8:30.
Yes.
First Monday of the month. I guess I got to go 5 hours and sit there. You don't want people to have that spirit.
No. I will tell you also from experiences that we've had here. So my wife, who's our CEO, was in a peer group, a formalized peer group. And then she and 4 other members broke away and formed their own group. They just weren't getting value from the other one. And they tried to self-facilitate. They did it for a year. They disbanded.
Yeah.
Because trying to self-facilitate.
It always sounds good, though.
It does. I know.
It always sounds good.
Because you get so used to the rhythm of the meeting. You're like, we could do this without Brian. We could do this without Bill. We don't need them. And then you do it and you realize that actually that extra objective third-party neutral energy is very, very different.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking about joining a group, I love what Bill talked about, in my words of it, you really got to vet out the facilitator. That person has really got to be your kind of person. Gives you space, lets you talk, brings people together. That's really important if you're going to join a formal group.
Yeah.
What doesn't work also, in my opinion, for this purpose is the meetup. So there are dozens and dozens and hundreds and thousands of meetups all over the country going on. Hey, we're having a SaaS SDR meetup. Right? There's going to be a meetup.
Well, that's kind of the Clubhouse model.
It is.
In a way. It's,
yes.
We're going to talk about this topic. We're just going to open a room and have people pontificate and moderate.
Yes.
And I agree. I don't think that works.
Yeah.
I think a great moderator should, let's say you have an hour and a half meeting, and this is your group facilitation, mastermind, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I think half of that should be some sort of orchestrated, structural, either instruction, curriculum, exercises, something that takes people through a process. And then the last half of the meeting, or thereabouts, should be problem solving, idea creation, open forum kind of thing.
Yes.
And because I think if you leave it all to open forum and don't have any kind of curriculum or structure, I think you lose people, because people do come wanting to learn. And if you're a moderator of a group, like I know for me, I always have something to talk about at the very beginning that's either a teaching lesson or an instruction or a new way to look at an old problem.
Yes.
And I think people appreciate that. And then there's always time at the end for back and forth discussion, role playing. What did you like? What didn't you like? What else are you working on? That kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, there's no doubt. And I find that people go to these meetups, and it's so interesting to me too that a lot of people go to meetups and they keep going back. And when I talk to the people individually, they go, yeah, I go. I just like seeing everybody.
That's kind of the overall.
Yeah, and they keep going. Yeah. And so to me, also most meetups are free for the most part. Most people, everybody can come. So there's an element also, you need to get your checkbook out, I think, to be part of a good formalized group, to have the best experience you can have. You pay someone to facilitate for you, or join a group that's already existing and pay the fee to be there. I also love that kind of etheric, energetic exchange that I'm going to not only just show up with my time, but I'm going to write a check out of my checking account.
Absolutely.
That I'll put more into it, right? It's more important.
If you're wondering, most people haven't really been a part of the groups before.
No.
They might have been a part of church groups, but when it comes to a mastermind or things like this, you're going to need to slice a check for 3, 4, 5, all the way up. I mean, there's some masterminds that are a couple grand a month. Now, those are high level, and those are with a lot of high level people, but you're talking in the hundreds. You're not talking in the $9.95 a month. You're going to have to spend some money.
Yeah.
And it's money that you will certainly earn back, and you're betting on yourself. And you know what? If you, after 3 or 4 months, you don't like it, you can always get out. I always tell people in our groups, look, count on a year. But if after 6 months you're not getting anything, or I'm letting you down, or you're just not trainable, we abort the process. It's pretty easy. Yeah,
very easy. Now, if you are, as the listeners that inspired this topic are, just putting out a little call to the world to say, hey, I'm an Advanced Selling Podcast fan. I live in Oregon, and I'd like to hang out or start a little mini group with people. You can still do that. I think that's great because you have this common connection. right? We just want to make sure when we're doing that, and that's like, on the side, so we're not really writing a check for that you do have some elements of structure behind those, because those get easy to blow off if there's nothing formal there. People will start to, and most of them fizzle.
You need a moderator. If you're going to do that, whether it's ASP Insider or wherever, you need somebody to say, okay, there's 5 of us getting together. Brian, next month, you're the moderator.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to share as much of your own stuff because you're facilitating the group. That's okay. You'll get a chance the next month, but someone has to take charge. If it's 4 people getting together for coffee, it's just going to be a coffee clash, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And nobody's really going to go deep. It's going to be all very superficial. Nobody's going to be challenging each other, and you're going to leave empty.
Coffee Clatch? Did you say Coffee Clatch?
Isn't that what it's called?
I think it is, but I haven't heard that. Remember the Saturday Night Live skit?
That's right.
Coffee Clatch. For those of you who don't know or maybe have missed that generationally, go Google Coffee Clatch Saturday Night Live. It's Mike Myers.
Mike Myers, okay.
Right? Who's Austin Powers, does Coffee Clatch. It's brilliant. Because I think he's all about Barbra Streisand, and Barbra Streisand comes on the show, if I remember correctly. It's just fantastic. Right. You need to go see Coffee Clatch for sure. Last thing I'll say about being in a group is if you join a group, my recommendation is if you're joining a group for networking, make that the very last reason on your list. I see too many people want to come into these groups and sell to the group. Yeah. And they think, I got to be part of a group. And the first thing you do is you start to look around the room and size everyone up for prospects. Do not do that. It just kills the integrity of the whole process. Everyone will know it. It won't feel good to anybody. No. Just don't. There are lead groups. Go ahead.
There are a lot of groups, like mastermind groups, you cannot sell to the other person.
Oh, totally. Right.
It's just not. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What if they want to buy? It poisons things. Then it's like, okay, well, if he likes my stuff, maybe she'll like it. It just poisons the group. And I'm not saying selling is bad. I'm saying that in a group like that, it's a very vulnerable place. You want it to be vulnerable. You want people to share, and you want people to open up. And if you start pitching everybody, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It does not work.
Yeah. All right.
So, recommendations, go join a group. Just go find a group, spend the time, write the check. I promise you it will be worth every dime and then some of the amount of money.
Yeah, just search on mastermind groups in your area or small group coaching or
sales peer groups, peer groups,
something like that. Yeah. So anyway, good job. Good topic today.
So if you haven't done so, go join the LinkedIn group. That's where we're pulling these topics from. We're going to have lots of other new stuff. And become an insider. You're going to be hearing, if you haven't heard already, we're offering some very, very cool extra episodes, extra content, access to other voices besides Bill and me. And the only way to get access to those is to become part of the Insider. So hope to see you there in the next Insider Call. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.